Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Today, we've made it up to the 18th part of this 31-part series, and we're on Chapter 17, The Third Step at Work. Today's episode is number 451, and the title of this episode is Competency Development at Work. As we continue this series on the ladder of influence, 5 steps for climbing to the next level and beyond. Hope you guys have been enjoying this series, and we're getting close to wrapping up the third step. We got one more after this one, which will be mastering the third step. But today we're on the third step at work. Rhea says climbing to the third step at work is almost exclusively about your ability to get results, make things happen, and excel in your areas of focus. She goes on to say to be highly effective, you must help other people make things happen. Helping your coworkers be successful must also be a goal. Share your knowledge, your skills, and be willing to develop others. And you see, as I'm beginning to talk about this competency development at work, it's about getting results at work, like Rhea said, making things happen and excelling, but not just for yourself. You're part of a team. You've got to be secure within to help your team get results and to give them credit. All those, again, that stuff is relative to your character. That's why we've already covered those 2 steps that really focus on your character, because they got to prepare you to leverage your competency once you get there. Once you get to this step's what I'm talking about when I say once you get there. Your character is going to maximize or minimize your competency. And I've been talking about that, but I just want to emphasize it again because that's the key. For you to be able to thrive at work relative to competency, you got to have a high degree of character. If you don't, you're not going to build trust and you're not going to have a lot of influence. But when we're talking about competency, Rhea says focus on your desired area or field and then master it. What she's talking about is, what are you interested in? Remember those 3 questions we talked about a couple episodes ago. And once you figure that out, you got to master it. Most people are trying to go so fast and grow so fast, they don't know. Many people don't master one step before they frustrated because they're not being allowed to climb to the next step. And I'm not talking about the steps on the ladder of influence. I'm talking about the next step at work, the next promotion, the next job, the next opportunity. There's a lot of people out there that are focusing on what's next that they don't even master where they're at. But those who can master the position they're in, get results, make things happen, and excel, like Rhea was talking about, you're going to get phenomenal opportunities. But you want to be the best at it. Whatever it is you're doing at work, you want to be the best at it. So become the expert who continues to grow. And few, if any, are ever going to be able to catch up to you. Because you got to think about it. If you're being very intentional about your growth, you're mastering your skills, developing your knowledge relative to your competency. Unless somebody does the work you've already done, they're not even caught up, much less passing you. And if you're the kind of person who's focused on intentional personal growth and development relative to character and competency, you got such a head start and you're never stopping. And it really ain't about people catching up and passing you. You really don't care. But I'm just saying, that's why you can be secure. It's just not going to happen. It could be like imagine somebody shows up today and they decide they want to be a leadership expert. and they chasing me for whatever crazy reason. Well, I've been reading every day for 17 years. I've logged over 11,000 hours leading cross-functional teams through process improvement, getting a new team every week. And those teams usually didn't like me, and they didn't like change, and they didn't like the boss. A lot of them didn't like each other, and that was my team. And we got phenomenal results. I've transformed my life personally in unbelievable ways. And I've gotten results at work and at home, as we've been talking about through this series. So if somebody just shows up and they all of a sudden interested in this, and they trying to chase me down, well, guess what? They got to do all that work that I did. And while they're doing all that work, I'm not just coasting. I'm constantly growing and developing myself and having new experiences. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's why there's no pressure. There's no competition. I'm always willing to help lift people up. You may be one of them. You may have reached out to me. Rhea and I coach and mentor people to do exactly what we do all the time. There's no competition. High impact people don't see other people who are trying to help people as competition. They see them as on the same mission, a shared mission. There's no shortage of people doing what we do. So we're always fired up and motivated to help people climb. We hope everybody that we interact with will grow and climb and develop enough that they want to help other people. But for many people, when they meet us and we meet them, we're just trying to help them with personal development. But that's okay, because personal development is the foundation for leadership development. You got to do all that work before you can start making an impact in these other areas of your life. So we're working on the third step at work, excuse me. We did the third step at home last time. So we're on the third step at work. So I want to break it down and go through the checklist Rhea has in this chapter and the related note she has at the end of each item. Rhea says, know what you're good at and do more of that to master the third step at work. Remember, we're talking about competency, assuming you're already doing the work on your character. Hopefully you've already done a lot of work on your character, but either way, you're still working on it. That's just an automatic assumption for you to go excel at this level and to get to check these items off as things that you are authentically doing. So let's get to the items. First item is, I know what is required of me at work, in my job, or in my business. The related note, relative to what I do, I know what the minimum requirements are to be successful. And you notice what she's saying is, I know what's required of me at work, or in my job, or in my business. I know what the minimum requirements are. What she's talking about is I take responsibility. And right here, she's just talking about responsible for doing the minimum. You want to be highly effective, you got to do far more than the minimum. But the first thing you got to do is the minimum. There may be a lot of people doing a lot of work, but if it's not what's required of them, they're busy, but they ain't getting results. So you got to know, what does the boss expect me to do? And if you're not doing those things, it doesn't matter how busy you are, you're not getting results. Until you're getting results relative to what the boss wants you to do, you ain't doing the right stuff. No matter what you think you need to be doing or what you want to be doing, you got to be getting results in the eyes of the boss before anything else matters. Till then, you ain't building any trust. Second item, I go the extra inch or the extra mile to deliver on a project. The related note, I go above and beyond what is required. What I was just talking about. First, you got to do what's expected. And then Rhea's talking about high impact people go beyond that. You want to maximize your influence at the third step on the ladder at work. You got to go the extra inch or even the extra mile on whatever projects you're working on. In my book, Blue Collar Leadership, Leading from the Front Lines, I got 3 chapters in there. They talk about these 3 things: doing more than is expected, doing it better than is expected, and doing it before it's expected. Those are 3 different chapters, but I'm talking about that same principle right there that Rhea's talking about. Going the extra inch or the extra mile. You do that, you're gonna leave a lot of people behind because a whole lot of people, they struggle to do the bare minimum. And some people, that's all they wanna do. They'll do a phenomenal job at doing the bare minimum, but they don't wanna do a bit more. And hey, that's all right. They open up a lot of space for those of us who wanna thrive at a high level to do exactly that. The next item on the list, I don't take shortcuts when it comes to quality, safety, or service. The related note, I don't compromise on excellence even when no one else will know. This is about integrity. Again, it's about the character, the foundation of a high degree of character, about not taking shortcuts when it comes to quality, safety, and service. Really, about anything. High impact person doesn't take shortcuts. They don't even have to. There's no reason for them to take shortcuts relative to character and competency. And here we're talking about competency. If you got a high degree of character, you know you don't need to take shortcuts. There's ways you can do things more efficiently and effectively, but that's not a shortcut. Shortcuts when you're cutting corners, leaving off some things that you're supposed to do. Even if it's something that you think you don't have to do, because it may not have a big impact, but it might be related to what Ria's talking about, quality, safety, or service. You think, well, I can fudge on that a little bit. Don't have to do that. You don't have to if you're a low impact individual. If you're a high impact individual, you're going to deliver high quality in a safe manner, and you're going to provide a high degree of service. The next item on the list, and again, these items in the book are for you to check off. Can I check off that I'm doing these things with a high degree of integrity? You know, am I telling the truth in general? Fourth bullet, I'm self-aware relative to my competency strength zone. Let me start over. My tongue's getting tangled up. I am self-aware relative to my competency strength zone and my weak areas. The related note, I know what I do really well. And that's the focus. I know what I do really well because I'm self-aware and I know what my strength zone is, and that's what I focus on. I pass if I can, if my boss will allow me, or even if my boss won't allow me. I look for team members who have strengths in my area of weakness. And if I'm on a high performance team, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that we want our team members working in their strengths and not their weakness. So if I'm strong in an area you're weak in, I'm gonna step in and help in the weak spot or take over the responsibility for your weak spot so that you can thrive in your strength zone. All right, the next item on the list, I spend at least 80% of my working time in my high leverage strength zone. The related note, I avoid spending much time on tasks I am not good at. Kind of just touched on that, but she's kind of relating it to a number, 80%. Because remember, sometimes you're going to have to do stuff that's not in your strength zone. But if you're leading yourself well and you're trying to thrive in your competency, at this competency step at work, you want to be in your strength zone 80% or more of the time. So you can be shining. Because if you working in an area where you're having to work in an area that's your weakness relative to competency, you're going to perform in a weak manner. You're not going to be looking good. You're going to be looking bad. And again, you may be in that situation where that's what the boss wants you to do. You got to figure out how to get yourself out of that situation. You got to get yourself in a spot where you're working in your strength zone, which means you're getting high quality results. You're being highly effective. You got to put yourself there. If the boss won't put you there, you got to say, why is this guy my boss? Or why is this lady my boss? Why do I show up here every day and work in a position that's causing me long-term to be holding myself back? I'm responsible. And sometimes it's just having enough character to be able to have a conversation with the boss. Sometimes you got to lead the boss. You may not have to quit your job. You may just need to lead the boss. But if you're frustrated and irritated because what the boss has got you doing and you don't have a high degree of character, you ain't done your character work, you might not be able to have that conversation without getting all bent out of shape. And then when you get it bent out of shape, you're losing trust, not gaining trust. The next item on the list, I spend at least 5% of my time intentionally developing my competency strengths. Related note, I am regularly developing my areas of focus relative to my competencies. So she's just saying 5%, 5% of your time. That ain't a lot, but it is a lot compared to people who are not doing it. But the main point there is, are you intentional about developing your competency strengths? Whatever it is that whatever kind of work you do, I promise you there's YouTube videos out there for free. Somebody who loves it and has created a YouTube channel teaching other people how to do it. That's one thing you could do for free. You could get on LinkedIn and look up people who are in your industry. There's people who do exactly what Rhea and I do. We pump out all kind of information about leadership development and personal growth because that's our space. But whatever space you're in, there's somebody in your field on LinkedIn who's pumping out content related to that. Are you leveraging that content? You can order books. You can take online courses. Tons and tons of ways you can become intentional about developing your competency strengths. But you got to do it, whether the boss is doing it or not. But sometimes if you got a high degree of influence, you work your influence with your boss, and they may pay for a course or pay for your training, send you to a conference. Sometimes all you got to do is ask. And if you're engaged and you got a high degree of character and you're getting results, they're probably going to be glad to send you to something like that. They're helping you help yourself, which is ultimately helping them. Everybody wins. The next item on the list, relative to all the things I'm good at, I am continually narrowing my area of focus. Related note, I am honing my skills in fewer areas, but at a greater depth. That's good stuff right there. I am honing my skills in fewer areas, but at a greater depth. It's the same thing that happened to Rhea and I as we grew through this, or Rhea and me, I should say, if I'm saying it correctly. Same thing that happened to Rhea and me. We kept growing, kept honing our skills in fewer areas, and now we're just focused down to personal growth and leadership development. Call them two different things, but they really the same thing. There's just a lot. There's just a lot to it. But they're the same thing. The next item on the list, I'm training my replacement at work. Related note, I am continually developing or mentoring someone to take my place. This is one a whole lot of people can't check because they really don't want to train their replacement at work. They're insecure. So because they're insecure, they're afraid of teaching everybody or somebody everything that they know and helping them hopefully be better than they are. It takes a lot of security. You got to be growing intentionally to have the kind of security to do that. But those people are the most valuable. Just think about it simply. Who's the most valuable person? Someone who can train someone to do their job and move on to take on more responsibility, or someone who can't train someone to do their job and basically they're stuck. Now, a lot of low impact bosses want the stuck person because they're a low impact leader who's insecure. So they want people on their team who are not growing so they can just relax and get a person in a job and try to keep on that job for 20 years. And there's nothing wrong with that if you want to be on the job for 20 years. But my emphasis right now is on the boss who's trying to keep people on a job for 20 years so that they can have the easy life. They don't have to develop people. They don't have to train people. They get folks in there and teach them how to do the job, or they learn how to do the job, and the boss just takes it easy most of the time, even though they ain't able to take it easy most of the time either. I think you understand what I'm getting at. The next item, I ask for help when I need it. Remember, we're talking about competency at work. The related note, because I value the success of the team overall, I'm quick to reach out for assistance. So this is about humility. So let's say I'm highly competent, but I need some help. Instead of having a lot of pride and ego and not asking for help, slowing down the team or causing some kind of problem for the team, I'm going to go ask for help when I need it. That's a character issue, but it's related to competency again. If I need some help, it's something related to my competency or my skills, my talents, my abilities. We talked about that. The next item on the list, I share knowledge, specialized experience, and wisdom from my experience. The related note, I don't withhold information from my team. See, a high impact person at work, they're able to share their knowledge, their expertise, and their wisdom. They want to. They're secure. Again, goes back to your character. To be able to check that box right there and say, I do share my knowledge, my expertise, and my wisdom from my experience at work. To be able to check that box, you got to have a high degree of integrity and humility. The next item on the list, I welcome feedback, ideas, and suggestions from others. The related note, I'm always seeking improvement and open to ideas on how I or my team can get better. So here we're talking about a person who welcomes feedback. Insecure people, they don't want feedback. But here he is saying, I welcome feedback, ideas, and suggestions from others. Low impact people, they don't want none of that. They want to figure out how they're going to do it. They want to do it their way, and they don't want any input from other people because they feel like it makes them look less than, less knowledgeable than someone else, or that they can't do the job good enough. High impact people want feedback, want ideas, want suggestions because they're looking for synergy. They want a thinking partner. They know none of us is as strong as all of us. None of us is as smart as all of us. None of us is as creative as all of us. But that assumes we're willing to overlook the weaknesses and we value each other's strengths. And we want to work together to come up with a better idea than any of us can come up with individually. The final item on this list, I respectfully answer questions at work, even when I think the answer is obvious. Related note, I am not sarcastic, nor do I belittle those who don't know as much as I do. That's a big one right there. I respectfully answer questions at work, even when I think the answer is obvious. It's a lot of people when they get asked what they think is a simple question by somebody who ought to already know the answer. A lot of people with low degree of character and a high degree of competency tend to be sarcastic or talk down to people or belittle people. Or sometimes just say, figure it out. That's what I had to do because they don't want to be helpful. So that kind of wraps up this episode, the third step at work. Hope you got some value out of today's episode. Join me next week, and we'll kind of wrap up this third step, competency development, and we'll be focusing on just a few thoughts on mastering the third step. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.